It's Saturday, October 28th, 2023, here with my good friend Matt of Ox Talks. Make sure you check out his channel, Ox Talks. And we're just hanging out this afternoon over at his house. The pool is trickling off here, so if it irritates you, it should shut down here in the next 5 or so minutes. But Matt and I just wanted to make a video today, kind of touch on what's happening around the world, and just to kind of talk a little bit about the last collapse, the last financial crash of 2008, because there's a lot of similarities to 2008 to what's happening right now. This to me feels like we're right around 2007, Matt.
It does. I mean, I will be honest with all of you. I got caught, a little short-footed with that collapse, and I'll do this for another show, but, it happened fast, the slide happened fast, and once it got accelerating, look, things plummeted, the markets dropped substantially, the housing market dropped, and nobody saw it coming. So hopefully people are awake this time and are paying attention.
I can relate. I didn't really suffer any big losses, but I burned through a lot of cash. And, being in the real estate business, selling luxury homes, having people come into my office trying to short sell their $2 and $3 million homes, crying in tears that they were losing everything. They were losing their cars. They were losing their homes. They were losing their credit. Just so much destruction took place when 08 hit. And before that, people were coming in 2007 doing the short sales. And, not being that experienced years ago with what was happening in the economy and how much debt we were taking on and how people were buying these homes. And when it happened very, very quickly. And what I wasn't really ready for, and again, I really didn't suffer losses, but I had to burn through a lot of cash for years. I had to cash in my GLD into cash to survive. And it was a very, very difficult next 5 years. I thought, back then, maybe it's going to be a rough year. But when home prices out here were literally down 50%, there were homes out here that were selling for $300,000 back in 5 and 6 that I was selling for $35,000, $40,000 for homes that were near $300,000, and I wasn't even in that market back then. I was in a luxury market of $1 million plus, and that whole market was completely frozen. I sold a home that sold for nearly $3 million, $2.7 million back in 06. And I sold that home for $1.2 million and change in 2010. That's how vicious and violent this was. But it lasted much longer than most people anticipated. And I really wasn't prepared. I did not have the staying power. I didn't have enough cash. I couldn't capitalize on the deals and the opportunities that were happening. When you begin to see houses selling for $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 that were, incredible rentals that a lot of my clients have to this day, those houses are back, to $300,000. The rents have double, tripled from when they first purchased the home. So, Matt, does this remind you of 2007, 8, and where do you see it going from here?
Well, that was, as I recall, it was a lot longer and deeper downturn than anybody thought. But to your point, I mean, the people that were ready, the people that saw that coming, that had dry powder, that had good credit, yep, going into that downturn, killed it. These people created generational wealth by picking up houses for, 20 cents, literally 20 cents on the dollar. You would tell me some of the stories. I mean, you could have amassed a portfolio of stocks and real estate during that downturn that you still would be reaping the rewards from. So I wasn't there. I was same as JB. I was not. I was a little bit overextended. I had a lot. My practice was doing phenomenal during those years, but paying down debt, trying to get strong, and I missed it. So I'm not going to miss it this time.
Yeah, we're much more prepared than last time. But wow, if you had a couple $100,000 back then, it's probably worth $1 million now. What it produced in rentals and the property values that have exploded. So there were people that were ready, who were extremely liquid and took advantage of it. I know people that came in, clients that came in with $500,000 or $1 million just to buy rental properties throughout the desert. And they've made millions of dollars off of those investments. So I think that this one, though, we compare what's happening now to 2008, and I can't say that this is going to be 2008. I think this is much closer to 1929 with what we're going to see. I think that the housing collapse is going to be much, much more severe than the last one. I think that there's just way too much more debt out there. It's going to be a little different now. It's not going to be banks that make these bad loans with these adjustable rate mortgages. It's going to be banks that made bad loans selling to people that bought short-term rentals like Airbnbs and VRBOs that now cannot rent these homes that are upside down, who have stretched themselves so thin and leveraged themselves so much from house to house to house, and they've really put themselves in a bad position.
And I think the commercial real estate market, where that was not as big of a factor back in '08, is going to be a huge factor this time, because you have, the added level of these high interest rates, and these commercial loans are coming due, and these people are not going to be able to refinance these loans into 8, 9, 10% loans. They're going to simply walk away. They're going to give possession back, and so I think you're going to have, in addition to the residential problems, you're going to have commercial real estate that's going to start crashing big time,
which will put extreme pressure on the banking system, mainly the regional banks. But you look at what the bank situation right now, the auto loans that they made over the last couple of years, loan to value and some of these 140%, loaning on cars where they were being sold for $20, $30, $40, $50,000 over asking price for a Dodge Charger or a Challenger, just ridiculous stuff. So there's going to be a huge trouble there now as the repossessions are just exploding. As Matt said, the commercial real estate market, the amount of money and the amount of the readjusting loans now that are coming due, $1.5 trillion of loans coming due that are going to have to be readjusted or refinanced in the next 3 years. That's a staggering amount of money. And who's going to fill these buildings? These buildings are going more and more empty every day. We're seeing more malls in trouble, office buildings that are not filling up. We're just seeing depletions of office workers. And so you compare to, the run up in 2005 and 6 and the crash of '08, but you look at the debt now, which is 3 times higher than it was back then. Inflation exploding much, much higher than back then. Interest rates way higher than back then. Mortgage rates much higher than back then. The average amount of household debt dwarfs what people had back in 2008. We're in 2 wars right now, going on 3. Do the math, connect the dots, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see some big trouble. Matt.
Yeah, there's no reason why this wouldn't be more akin to 1929. You have everything has a potential for a major, major downturn. And look at the lenders. How about the lenders that lent on all this commercial real estate?
Right.
This is going to hit all these banks,
right?
The regionals that put money into all these loans and lent money on these buildings. So look, it's going to be, from my perspective, be really ugly. It's going to dwarf 2008. And if you're ready, if you're being smart now, paying down debt, making the right moves, being prudent with your decisions, you may be able to position yourself to take advantage and capitalize on the opportunities. But for most people, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be a very, very sad set of circumstances.
I've noticed a lot of people just don't want to give up the lifestyle. They don't want to cut anything out of their lives. They don't want to cut the vacations, the dinners, the social media. They just want to continue like nothing's wrong. And that to me is so dangerous. Those people are going to lose everything that they have. They don't even have to think about capitalizing on opportunity. They're going to lose everything. You have to think right now, number one, survival. And then capitalizing and looking at some of the opportunities out there. But if you don't have a war chest of cash right now, if you're not working on that, if you're not making sure that your credit is as good as it can get, you're going to be in big trouble. We're continuing to see people take big hits on their credit because cars are being repossessed. They're missing payments on rent. They're missing payments on the credit cards, and the auto loans. And so what's somebody going to do, when they have a bad credit score? How do they capitalize on opportunity? They have no cash, no assets, a terrible credit score. These people are in big trouble.
Yeah. And for now, your credit score still means a lot. Now, is that going to change down the road? I don't know. But for now, it means a lot. It lets creditors know that you're either a reliable borrower or you're not. You're either responsible and showing up and paying your bills on time or you're not. If you are maxing out credit cards on your limits, that shows up as a negative. If you're paying your credit cards on time, if you have a $5,000 credit limit and you're carrying a $4,900 balance on that card, that's a negative hit to your credit. So it's too much credit credit, in addition to not paying things on time, is all going to drag your credit score down. This is not financial advice. I'm not an expert on credit scores and credit reporting, but those are the things that affect all this, guys. I was talking to a client of mine yesterday who I work out with as well. He's a real estate guy locally. Does real well. He does residential, primarily a higher-end real estate. And they had a meeting yesterday, and their broker told them that he thinks rates are going to jump to 12% by the first quarter of next year. So what's that going to do to the housing market?
Well, it's going to crush an already crushed housing market. Right now, if you put 20% down and you have average credit on, a $400,000 house, your payment is probably going to be well over $3,000. Your mortgage rate is going to be over 8.6%. Right now, if you have average credit with 20% down, you're looking at anywhere on a 30-year fixed rate, 8.5% to 9%. There are people right now with not so good credit that are paying nearly 9.5% to buy a house with 20% down. So think about if you have very little money to put down and very average credit, you may be paying close to 10% right now. This is no doubt going into double digits, in my opinion. And really quick, we were talking about an associate of yours, a friend of yours that knew somebody living in one of the beach communities out here who's got a mortgage payment right now, $16,000, who's in the real estate business. Yep. And so that's not including cars, that's not including credit cards, that's not even including the light bill. $16,000 a month just to live in one of the coastal communities right now. And one of the worst sectors that you could be in right now is real estate, because we all know what's happening to the mortgage industry. It is getting absolutely devastated. And think about people who in the mortgage industry, real estate agents, lenders, what have you, a couple years ago, 15, 18, 24 months ago, 36 months ago, making really, really good money. It is basically going to be like a switch just got shut off on these people. They're driving the big cars, they're living in the big houses, they've got huge overhead, and now what are they going to do? Let me tell you, $16,000 a month on a mortgage will eat into your capital very, very quickly. And
he was telling me that in addition to the mortgage, he was discussing with this guy his other expenses, the car payments, the taxes, the insurance, other costs of living. And he was getting close to a monthly output of about $35,000 or $40,000 a month. This guy is a residential real estate agent doing real well for now. But look, what happens when those escrows dry up? What happens when that phone stops ringing? I've been doing my stuff for 28 years, and every day I get up and I am fearful that my phone will not ring. I get most of my business from word of mouth and referrals, and I'm still every day fearful and concerned that phone could stop ringing. So, people are just they're not looking at this. This gentleman he didn't want to talk about the subject. Right. He's got his head in the sand.
Now, we like cars. Sure. And you made a video a couple days ago, which I thought was a great video. Check out his video. What was the title of that video?
Walked away from a $200,000 Porsche.
So check that out. Ox Talks. Get Matt some subs. Make sure you sub. But you made a very. This was your dream car. Yeah. And there's no doubt you could afford the car right now. You walked away from it. Why don't you take a minute and talk about that? Because I think that this is somebody who made a very, very intelligent decision here versus somebody who, like, living in a $16,000 a month property, who it's going to be very, very difficult to keep that up as we get deeper into this real estate market. But you could afford it. You decided not to do it. If you could elaborate.
Yeah, and car guys, it's an emotional thing, and you hate to not pull the trigger on something that that you enjoy every day. And for me, I go to my office every day. I work long days. That's my enjoyment. I get in my car in the morning and I go to the office and I enjoy that 15-minute drive. And so, it's something I can always justify. But where we're at right now, with the backdrop, at all levels, it was not a prudent decision. And I knew that. I was getting several, messages about that. And I just decided that, look, it's time to truly walk the walk, not make a quick, rash decision, not make an emotional decision. And what I said on my video the other day, it doesn't matter whether it's a $200,000 $1,000 car or a $200 pair of shoes or a $1,000 big screen TV. This applies to all of us across the board. If you're all paying attention to what we're paying attention to, it's time to pull back. It is time to exercise, from my perspective at least, restraint.
Yes, I agree. And
so I did that. I mean, that's at all levels, I did that, and I don't regret the decision at all. Sleeping much better at night.
I think you're going to buy that car 12 or 18 months from now at a huge discount. You will get the car. But I think that's a smart decision. And so again, yeah, like Matt said, it could be a $200 purchase, could be a $20,000 purchase, could be a $2 million purchase. Is this the time to do it? To me, it would have to be something you couldn't live without. But I think right now is the time to be building that war chest, putting away as much cash as possible. I just made another gold purchase. You've made purchases. We've seen what's happening with gold. What is your perception of the gold market right now? What do you see maybe in the markets on Monday? What happens to gold on Monday? We know that things are continuing to heat up over in the Middle East. I was watching this morning what's going on over there. Now I guess they're getting more aggressive and ready to really move ground troops into Gaza. I don't think they've done that yet, but they said that right now Gaza looks like it's been blasted, blown back to the Stone Age. So at some point, ground troops are going in there. Now, do we see other countries begin to really get involved here? We know China's over there, we're over there, Iran's talking, all this going on. And this to me means more chaos and more uncertainty for the markets. What do you think happens next week? And of course, we've got Jerome Powell with the Fed coming out, and we can talk about interest rates in a minute.
I mean, there's a lot of international, I saw a bunch of articles today, there's a lot of international pressure against this this ground troop movement. And, I'm not weighing in on that. I'm just saying that this is creating more division, more anxiety. And I think, and again, we don't have a crystal ball, but I think this could continue to impact the markets. I think you've seen this conflagration impact the gold price for sure. I mean, the gold has risen $80 an ounce or more in the last few weeks. That could continue to happen. I'm not saying run out and buy gold. You could see a pullback. I mean, if there's a truce or some news comes out that they've worked something out, gold's going to pull back. It ebbs and flows. You don't buy it for the short-term gains. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. We've discussed that on both of our channels before. But there's some stuff out there saying, look, you could see a Black Monday in the markets this next week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. It is shaping up. It's very tense.
I spoke to Bill Holter for a few minutes a few days ago, and he said this whole thing's coming down this year. Now, again, we don't have a crystal ball. Bill Holter believes that we're going to see major crisis in the financial sector this year. We're not getting out of it this year. It's going down this year. I don't know. To me, be prepared, because it could happen Monday. It could happen a month from now. It could happen 2 years from now. Nobody really knows. But what I think we can all agree with is we're getting very, very close to some very, very big things happening geopolitically, financially, in terms to what's happening with the fragility of the banking system, the leadership of this country. And if we do get a truce over in the Middle East, which I don't see happening, I think now if Israel doesn't go in, there will be basically egg on their face. I don't think there's any going back now. So I think things are going to heat up and escalate even more. Now it's a question of who's going to get involved with this. We've already forgotten Eastern Europe and what's happening over there. Now next, I think you really have to look at Taiwan within the next 90 days. The situation in the China Sea the other day, where one of these Chinese fighter jets got within 10 feet of a B-52, US B-52 bomber. Tensions are escalating. So even if we did get a truce, there's so much more that could erupt around the world, and it's so important to be holding real assets and buying real things right now.
Well, look, I mean, I enjoyed interviewing Bill when we were over in Texas.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. And the point is look, is Bill right about that? By the end of the year, It doesn't matter whether it's end of the year, it's in 6 months from now, 9 months from now. I would rather be months too early than a second too late when it comes to preparing yourself financially, preparing yourself with your security, preparing yourself emotionally and physically to deal with what's coming, I think, in the next 12, 18, 20, 24 months.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. People have never really felt the pain. They've never really seen serious, maybe violence. They've never seen people really starving. They've never seen a lot of things. We've had it very, very good. You know, if you have parents or grandparents alive who went through the Great Depression, I'm sure they could tell you a lot of stories. But we've never really had it bad in America, and we've gotten, in my opinion, very soft, very weak. You know, if you look around the world where people are starving, where there's violence and fighting everywhere, where people are living, you know, in cardboard boxes and shacks, and now we're beginning to see more of that. We're seeing more of the violence. We're seeing more people living on the streets. We're seeing more chaotic events taking place in the economy, and we're seeing more people, even in America now, with food insecurity and starving. So we're beginning to see more third world type events unfolding right here in America that we thought only happened in other places, and it's happening here. All we have to do is drive an hour and a half to LA. In fact, maybe just 15 minutes in parts of the desert here where people are living out in the middle of the desert, who don't have a lot of food, who don't have air conditioning, who don't have running water. We're beginning to see this country really slide down more and more into a third world country in many parts of this country right now. It's happening, and people are oblivious to it. And you know, maybe if you live behind a gated community, maybe if you're making $100,000+ a year, you just don't think it's going to affect you. But this is the newsflash, ladies and gentlemen. We're all one country, and this is going to start affecting everybody. We saw that gentleman a few days ago who was robbed on Interstate 10 in Los Angeles, where they slammed into his car and robbed him in broad daylight. I mean, this is what's happening now in America. These are things we used to only see like in parts of, you know, like South America, Central America, third world countries, where you'd be driving, maybe Mexico, where you'd be driving and somebody would run you off the road and then rob you with a hammer and a crowbar. So.
And what happened? You know what? I saw that video. That guy got out of his car, dropped to his knees, begging for his life.
Yeah.
He obviously had no security. He probably wasn't paying attention. He wasn't exercising situational awareness. I'm not saying you can avoid every scenario, but you know what? What made me a little sad about that? That guy was defenseless. And how would you feel being totally defenseless in a situation like that? Yeah. If that group of people would have wanted to kill him, guess what? He was done. Gone.
And you got to think, even financially, are you defenseless financially? If you don't have assets right now, if you don't have cash put away, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have your debts paid down, you're going to be defenseless financially. So you have to look at this in a financial way, a physical way, and a spiritual way, because you have to spiritually be getting stronger too, physically be getting stronger, financially getting stronger. This is no joke what's happening. You know, people a year or 2 or 3 years ago would joke and, you know, in the comments and ridicule and judge and think that this could never happen. And here we are today talking about the events that are happening right now, not in third world countries, it's happening right here as the US dollar continues to devalue, as your purchasing power continues to devalue, and people still think things are good. So maybe, I guess, when a loaf of bread is $20, maybe some of those people will say, well, maybe things aren't so good. What's it going to take when, you know, some of these people finally realize that we're in trouble?
You know, some people never do. They just walk right into it blind, and they never understand it. People are still in denial. People are still not paying attention. I would say the vast majority, obviously your viewers, my viewers, you know, a lot of people are awake, but I would say the vast majority of people are sheep. They're not paying attention. Yep. They're just following the herd, and they're going to walk right off the cliff. So yep. wake up, people. This is getting really serious.
There is a pack of wolves coming. Wolves, and you know what they do to sheep. They eat sheep, and so you better be aware of the dangers that are coming. Again, spiritually, physically, financially, all of this stuff.
And there won't be a gray area. You'll either be a wolf or you'll be a sheep.
Right.
So you better pick a side quick.
Yep. Now, just a couple articles that I printed up today. This one was on the Wall Street Journal. The mortgage market is so bad, lenders want ex-employees to give back their bonuses. Wall Street Journal today. And yet there'll be people in the mortgage industry who say, oh, I'm doing great, I'm doing wonderful. And I hope you are. But for 97% of the mortgage industry, people are getting absolutely annihilated. And it's pretty bad, Matt, when these lenders want their not present, but ex-employees to give back their bonuses. And remember, everybody, we had a hiring explosion 2 years ago. And they were giving people bonuses to come on, and now they want their money back. What does this indicate?
Well, desperation, number one, but it's pathetic, number two. But number three, before putting on my legal hat, there must have been something in the contract that those employees signed when they signed on with that lender saying, or their boss saying that they would be willing to reimburse their commissions if something happened. So anyway, read your contracts, people.
Yes. Homes, unaffordable in 99% of the nation for the average American. Is this going to change?
No, it's going to get worse. I think it's going to get worse. Because the people that can't afford the homes are also not going to be the ones that are going to be able to come in and pick up this wave of foreclosures in the next cycle down, right? They're done. They're on the sidelines. Their credit scores are going to be in the tank. They will not be able to finance the Big Mac.
And no cash.
No cash.
And
no metals.
Look, and people say, like, oh, cash, cash is bad. You still have to have some cash in this game. You still have to have some cash until you don't. And when we come to that point, then you better have some gold. But Matt's absolutely correct. These people are just not going to be able to get in the game. And, that brings me to what I was talking a little bit about yesterday. It's already too late for millions of people right now to really, I hate to say it, to even save themselves. What do you do, Matt, if you're, 45 plus, no skills, no cash, no assets, bad credit, a low-paying job or no job? What do you do? You're pretty much done. And I hate to say that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. But maybe, if you're younger, you need to look at people like that and make sure you don't land up in that same situation.
I agree. Learn from others' mistakes. But, I always try to, provide some silver lining. All I'm going to say is that even if you're one of those people that really doesn't have a lot of options, you at least have to try. You have to start somewhere. You have to take little baby steps to save some money, pay down some debt, and do the best you can. You have to. Because everyone has to put one foot in front of the other and move forward. We all have to figure it out, whether it's from a lower level or a higher level. We've all got to figure it out, and you got to move forward.
Matt being very optimistic, 52 years old, no skills.
Me?
No. No, I'm just saying, let's just take somebody, for example, 52 years old, no skills, $40,000 maybe in credit card debt, maybe just lost their job, and they have nothing but debt. Their credit's destroyed. How in the world do you prepare for what's coming? I just don't. I think it's almost impossible at this point. I'll be optimistic to a point that, man, you better be praying a lot to God and praying for a miracle, because I think this far into the game right now, and you don't have anything, you're in big trouble.
Well, and look, you're behind the 8 ball. But and I will say this. If you're 52 or 53, that's about our age. If you're that age, you saw the 08-09 crisis, and you should have learned something. We did.
Yeah.
And I hope you all did that are in that same age bracket, and you better be capitalizing on it now. If you didn't, you were lazy, you had your head deeper in the sand than most people did, or you just didn't care. Mm-hmm. And apathy is going to hurt you even worse this time around.
And you're going to pay a big price for it.
For sure.
Here's one on CNBC. Here's Americans' net worth at every age for people under 35. It's up 142%. So that sounds wonderful, but I think we know why it's up 142%. We can attribute this obviously to housing prices.
Yeah, the housing wealth effect.
Mm-hmm.
That's the majority of most people's major assets, right? Is their equity in their house. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what that stat might be attributed. I haven't read the article, but.
So we have a lot of paper millionaires out there, and my fear is that a lot of people feel wealthy, even though the economy's collapsing. and so many things are happening. But people go, wow, my house, I bought my house for $400,000 and now it's $750,000 or $800,000 just in a matter of a few years. So people, even though the economy is collapsing and interest rates are up and the savings rate is down to 3.5%, household wealth, we've never seen it this high, over $1 trillion of credit card debt, $1.7 trillion of student loan debt. We could talk all day about all this debt, but people feel like, hey, it's okay because I'm wealthy, because I have equity in my home, because my $400,000 house in 3 or 4 years now is $750,000. The question is, what's going to happen to these people when we begin to see this market begin to slow down even more and more than it already has? I mean, nobody's buying houses. The sales have collapsed. And in many areas, we have seen prices come down. But what happens when we get that 2008 effect, when prices start really tumbling down? That wealth is going to absolutely evaporate quickly. And then what are people going to do when they realize that, man, that I was wealthy on paper, but I really don't have any real wealth? It was all tied up in a house, and home prices go up. And usually they come down much faster than they went up.
Yeah, and don't forget, it can go negative. It can evaporate, and it can go negative where you owe more on your mortgage than your house is worth.
Right. Don't forget. I mean, you're looking at 7 to 8% to sell your house. You got to pay. You got to pay the real estate fees, buyer seller, and closing costs. So you're at 7 to 8% right off the bat.
And look, unless you're prepared and your game plan is to sell your house, liquidate, and then go rent an apartment, you don't cash it out. The only way you can get your hands on the equity in your house is to go borrow the money from your house, which right now is at 8%.
Right.
So it's on paper. It's not money in your bank.
And that's another good point. How about people a year, 2 years ago that were pulling money out of the homes to go buy cryptos or to go buy RVs and boats? They pulled all this money out of their homes. They don't realize that has to be paid back.
Yeah.
And so if they start running to the exits to sell these homes, well, yeah, remember on that $400,000 home that is $750,000 and you borrowed $150,000 out of it, and now the home just went down $200,000, and you've got closing costs, you're in big trouble. You're not going to be able to do it. You're upside down. And I was just watching a video today. We were in Austin, Texas, about 2 months ago? Yeah. And Austin, they were showing some of these cities. Austin, Texas, homes in Austin, Texas are down 11.7% from a year ago, almost 12%. One of the hottest markets in the country now, down 12% from a year ago. What if it's another 12% next year, or 18% next year on top of the 12% this year? I mean, this is how fast things can happen. And
they're still building on every corner. Now, we were a little bit outside Austin, but they're building on every corner.
Yep.
Multifamily, restaurants, commercial.
Right. We were tiny homes.
Oh, yeah, tiny homes. Yeah.
That was big. U.S. food insecurity crisis erupts. 17 million households starving. This is the highest in 11 years. This on the Hedge today. When you look at food prices now, and you especially look at people on fixed incomes, this isn't 17 million people. This is 17 million households. Matt, this is not the sign of a booming economy or a strong consumer or a resilient consumer.
No, it's a sign of a collapse. But what frustrates me is we can't our own people in this country can't provide enough to put food on their table. We're shipping billions of dollars to help other countries.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a real concerning figure to me. But what it shows is that people they're not able to keep up. The food stamps are drying up. The SNAP benefits are drying up. Yeah. The free money from pandemic money is drying up or has dried up. People have tapped into all their savings. And if you can't put food on the table for your family, you're done.
And it's getting more and more difficult to save money. And the prices of food, fuel, I did a video last month, 20 million households couldn't even pay their utility bills in this country. We had a very hot summer. I mean, our utility bills doubled and tripled. And I mean, we don't live in the biggest houses. We don't live in the smallest houses, but we don't live in the biggest houses. But I'm just thinking, if you have a 5, 6, 7,000 square foot house out here with high ceilings, you were paying well over $1,000 just to cool the house down.
Mine's over $1,000 a month, and we have solar also. So we had an overage.
Yeah, we had.
I was talking to a lady. Sorry, I was talking to a lady about a few weeks ago. I was over at AAA doing something, and this lady started just talking to me, and she was almost in tears, telling me how her electric bill came in her one-bedroom apartment, and it was $750. And she was elderly lady, and literally she just started sharing this with me, and she was almost in tears, telling me how she doesn't even know how she's going to pay the electric bill.
I mean, again, if you make over $100,000 a year, maybe, it doesn't bother you as much, but people, especially, maybe the middle class, you're making 50, 60,000 a year, 70,000, or you have a fixed income, and you're getting $1,000 a month or a $700 a month a utility bill, that really hurts. Then you're going to the grocery store, and just a bag of groceries is $50 now. And it's just like, how is this ever going to end? And how bad is it going to continue? I don't see anything slowing down. It just seems like prices continue to go up. It's getting more and more difficult every month for people to save money. And it just seems like you can see, like when you're out, the way people drive, the way people walk and look at you, people don't look happy.
Yeah. No, there's a general, just a discontent, level of discontent that I feel palpable.
Yeah.
And more so every day than ever. So,
And so, people are very short fused. People are angry. They're paying more in taxes. They're paying more just to live. And I'll just close with this last article. Kind of ties into it a little bit. We've seen a lot of escalation with people right here in America where they're closing down roads and highways, and we won't get too far into it here, but we'll maybe we can elaborate more on the Twitter X channel or on Facebook. The range car should be back Monday. Hopefully we'll get out, do some training this week, and we'll be able to elaborate a little bit more about some of the things that are happening on the streets of America. But you have to be so careful watching these videos, like that driver on I-10. The incident that occurred with that old man where they shut the roads down, and he went through the intersection, got stopped, and they were trying to pull him out of his car. They were pounding on his car. He drove off, and there was another group of people that had closed the next intersection down. He got stopped there, and they were trying to pull him out of his car, and then he had to turn around, and you've got to really be paying attention right now to where you're at. I would not be in big crowds. If I saw big crowds in an intersection, I would not approach it. Avoid confrontation at all risk. But people that aren't paying attention, you're on your cell phone, you're driving, and now you pull up to a red light, and there's 200 people in the intersection surrounding your car. Maybe you've got kids. You got to be paying attention. I mean, we're going to see, I think, some really, really bad things happen with this kind of behavior where people are just surrounding cars and trying to pull people out of cars and breaking their windows and jumping on their cars. I've never seen this kind of behavior in America, and these are in nice areas, and people just closing down freeways, intersections, and attacking people in their cars. And you got to be careful, Matt.
Yeah, if you're texting and driving along and you're not paying attention and you come to an intersection that has something like that going on, you're stuck. You can't just put it in reverse and back up. Obviously, those that live in the larger cities are more at risk. It is what it is. You have to be on even a more heightened level of of awareness of what's going on around you. But I don't think anybody's immune from this kind of stuff that we're seeing kind of accelerate. It doesn't matter where you live. You got to be paying attention. And you better think about having security.
We both have a very good friend in the sheriff's department out here, and he told me a week ago that crime in Palm Springs is up 400% this year compared to last year. In the beautiful city of Palm Springs, where people go and eat and vacation.
400%?
400%. 400%. So if that can happen in Palm Springs, California, it can happen where you live. And so you've got to be careful out there. And it's just, it's really sad to see where this is all going. It's sad that I never thought I'd be making videos talking about these type of subjects in America that are happening every day. But I'm going to let Matt close it up. Make sure to check out Matt's channel. Give him some love at Ox Talks. Let's get him some more subscribers and some more views. I just believe that we need to be supporting people that walk the walk, who have the same mindset, who really care about this country, and really care that all of you are getting in better mental, physical, spiritual, and financial shape. I want, personally, and I know Matt will agree to this, I want everybody to survive this I want people to prosper. But first off, we have to be aware of this. It isn't about like getting a sale on a house or getting a car half off or buying a boat and taking advantage of opportunities that are coming. You also have to remember what's going to come with this. As gold prices go up, gold's a warning that things are getting very volatile right here in America and throughout the world. And if you see gold prices get to $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, you're living in a whole nother world, ladies and gentlemen. And so I'm not here hoping and praying that I'm going to make all this money on gold. I buy it as insurance. But remember, it's really a barometer of how bad things are getting. And so we have to understand that let's not worry about getting a deal on a house or a car. That's going to happen. To me, it's all about physical safety first. We're going to see more people getting hungry. We're going to see more people that want to come to your house to take what you have. We're going to see more people very angry. They're going to be angry that, that maybe you have a house, maybe you have food. They're going to be angry that the government's not taking care of them. They're going to be angry at food costs, that their government check doesn't buy enough food to feed their family. They may want your car, they may want your food, they may want to just take your house. I mean, you got to be ready for this stuff because we're already seeing what's happening right now in the streets of America as a red flag, a warning sign of what's to come. And so stop worrying about, how you're going to capitalize financially. You need to stay alive. You need to stay safe during this time because you're going to be dealing with very serious social disruptions in America. Matt, I'll let you finish.
Look, I mean, I agree completely. You have to have the right mindset. Look, it doesn't cost anything to exercise every day. That's free. If you don't have a physical disability, there's no reason, I talk about on my show every day, no reason why you shouldn't be doing exercise every single day. Because we're going to be heading into not only financially difficult times, but times that are going to be very, very taxing emotionally for people, for all of us. And so you need to have that mental clarity, and you need to be physically fit. You need to be working on, obviously, making yourself better every day. Security, absolutely. You have to be thinking about that.
So we'll leave it there. It's a beautiful day. And you would never think that things are melting down globally, that things are melting down financially. There's not a cloud in the sky. The birds are out. The sprinklers are on. Everything's beautiful. And you would think that everything's fine. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, do not be complacent. Just because the sun's out and the birds are chirping doesn't mean that things are not happening right now behind the scenes. Take a look what's happening in the Middle East. To think that there are not going to be ramifications from what's happening over there taking place here. One pipeline blows up, we got big trouble. Okay, one oil pipeline blows up, we got trouble. We don't know right now what kind of fragmentation we're going to have here as far as recourse, where these countries now know that we're supporting Israel. We know that many of them have plants here in America, lots of them. And so there could be retaliation here in America. Are you prepared for that? You know that if it got bad, that the entire financial system would shut down, cities would shut down. Just take a look what happened in Maine, shutting down all the banks, shutting down the schools for one person. And we could talk about that probably for an hour. We're not going to talk about that. But for one person, look at what they did. Think about how many people could be here retaliating for what's taking place in the Middle East.
Can I give one more shameless plug to Ox Talks?
Go right ahead.
Guys, I appreciate JB letting me come on the channel and be part of this. I've started the new channel and I'm really enjoying it. I'm taking the time every day to put something up, trying to give it a little different take and involve some of my background and my legal experience. So I'd love it if you guys would come over and check out Ox Talks, the channel, and maybe subscribe if it's something that you enjoy watching. So again, thanks for today. I thought it was a great conversation. This is a rapidly unfolding, every single day a lot's happening.
I know this video is going on and on and on, but it's so, I'll tell you, you really got to surround yourself with like-minded people. Matt and I have been friends for over 10 years, and it's just nice to sit here in the backyard and just talk about what's happening right now. And unfortunately, I know a lot of people out there would just say, like, my relatives, my family, my friends, I don't have anybody to talk to, I'm all alone. And you're not. That's why I make these videos. That's why Matt's making these videos, to reinforce with all of you, you're not alone. There are a lot of people that are awake, that know what's going on. Many people maybe just don't want to admit it. Okay, but there are a lot of people. Read the comments down below. There's a lot of people that know exactly what's going on. I'm shocked now when I go out and I hear people talking, or somebody will come up to me. I'm shocked now how much more people know now than they did just a few years ago. So that's a good sign. Yes, too many people are asleep, but we can't save everybody. You have to worry about yourself. Matt.
I was going to say, I was thinking about that before.
Yep.
It's time to consider, we discussed this on the boat over in Texas. It's time to consider tightening your circle of friends, tightening the group of people that you surround yourself with. You cannot save everybody, and that includes family and friends. Those that you've been warning for a long time and are not listening, have their head in the sand, and they think it's all, to use your term, rainbows and unicorns. You guys have got to understand that. You can't save them all. So focus on the ones that understand it, they're getting it, and form a tight-knit group. It's going to be crucially important in the coming months and years.
People that don't have skills, people who are untrained, people who cannot operate, people who don't have the capital, the skills, the mindset, the belief in God, these people are going to be your liability. In fact, they may be your worst nightmare. You have to think about that. And I'd rather have a small, very tight-knit group of people who can operate, who have skills, who bring something to the table. You're going to be much, much stronger. You just think about 5 or 10 people who have something to offer, know how to do something, know how to operate. That's going to be a strong group of people. You don't need 100 friends that just watch football games and don't work out and have no skills, and they just, they're just getting by. You want to be with people who are passionate, people who work hard, people who love this country, people who are walking the walk. There's too many people out there that are posers. Remember the word posers. I haven't heard that in a long time, but there's a lot of posers out there who they want to be tough guys. They want to act like, they know everything. They want to act like they've done something when they haven't really done anything. They're not tough. They haven't walked the walk. You don't have to be a tough person to walk the walk. You just have to be a dedicated person. And the more dedicated you are, you're going to be tougher.
Yep, show up.
Show up.
Be responsible.
And right now is the time to do it. You don't want to learn about what pain and stress is out there when it happens. This is the time to start feeling a little bit of pain now on the mat in jiu-jitsu or in your Muay Thai class or at the gym. This is the time where you got to start pushing yourself, testing yourself, feeling a little bit of pain right now. You want to experience that now so that it doesn't take you when you're out there, it doesn't take you by surprise and you're like, what happened? I've never had to deal with this before. You're always going to resort back to your training, okay? And most people are going to resort back to nothing because they have absolutely no training. They don't know how to defend themselves. They don't know how to operate their tool sets. They have no skills. They don't know how to do anything. So they're going to go back to what they know, absolutely nothing. And that's why you saw that gentleman, unfortunately, get out of his car, fall to his knees, and go, take whatever you want. Take whatever you want. And I guarantee if you went to his house, he'd fall to his knees and put his hands up and say, take whatever you want. Take my wife, take my kids, take my car, take my jewelry. You don't want to be that guy.
Probably didn't have any gold, though.
If he did, it'd be gone. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Keep your head on a swivel. Do not be complacent. God bless.